13 years I've been at this job. I've seen human beings killed at the hands of others in every way imaginable. You name it, I've seen it. Shootings, stabbings, drownings, suffocatings, blown apart by cars, DUI manslaughter cases, horrible things. This is the worst case I've ever seen.
A 911 call was placed to the Hillsborough County, Florida Sheriff's Department on March 18, 2018 at 11:43 p.m. on the emergency line. A lady who was not identified was heard saying, "I'm so sorry, Ronnie," and then loudly yelling as the conversation ended. A man's voice could be heard in the background while she talked. 8 minutes later, at about 11:51 p.m., operators got a second 911 call from a man claiming to have been assaulted by what he described as white demons. He went on to say that he murdered Kenyatta Kiki Barron out of self-defense after she attempted to kill him. He then disconnected the call after providing the emergency dispatcher with the actual location, which is 13,248 Pike Lake Drive, Riverside, Florida. At 11:49 p.m., Hillsborough County Sheriff's officers showed up at the house. They found a woman who seemed to have been shot and who was bleeding heavily from a physical attack while lying in the driveway of a nearby home. They saw a shotgun lying on the ground next to the body, badly damaged. First assistance was provided by deputies until heinous personnel could arrive. When the officers approached the house via the front entrance, the garage door opened and they saw what seemed to be a fire inside. A guy emerged from the garage and approached the cops. It was subsequently discovered that he was Ronny O'Neal III. O'Neal was told many times to get on the ground, but he would not stop or obey. O'Neal was stopped from moving forward by officers using tasers, and they took him into a patrol car while they investigated the area. Hillsborough County Fire Rescue entered the house after sheriff's officers had dealt with O'Neal. A little youngster came out of the house during the maneuver. It was then found that he was the couple's 9-year-old son, Ronny O'Neal IV. Ronnie IV has several burns and stabbing wounds. "My father shot my mother," he said to staff members. The youngster was taken by ambulance to the hospital, where he had emergency surgery. Emergency responders put out the flames. They found Ron Nevaeh, the couple's 9-year-old daughter, dead in her mother's bedroom. She had what seemed to be a gunshot wound to her lips, burns, and stabbing wounds. Detectives could plainly see a blood trail in almost every room of the house when they peered beyond the tiny part of the house that had been destroyed by fire. One bedroom had a little gas can that they found. The cops discovered a big broken knife in the garage. The handle and blade had broken off and were lying on the garage floor next to one another. Investigators discovered that Ron Nevaeh was nonverbal, autistic, and had cerebral palsy from birth. Ron Nevaeh has been improving her walking skills and was using her wheelchair less often than before. She was described as a lovely, kind little girl with an optimistic outlook on life. It was discovered by investigators that Barron and O'Neal III had previously been partners. After being shot a month before, O'Neal III had nowhere to go for treatment. Barron had given him permission to remain at her place while he recovered. Regarding the injuries that Ronny O'Neal IV had received, Dr. Lilly of the Child Protection Team provided some explanation. She said that the little child had many knife wounds to his neck, left arm, lower right cheek, and body. His intestines protruded from a massive cut, and one hole had perforated his lung. Additionally, 20% of his body was burned. Kenyatta Barron had several lacerations, a blunt force injury to her head and neck, and one gunshot wound to her right shoulder, according to the medical examiner's findings. It was concluded that blunt force trauma to the head was the cause of her death. Ron Nevaeh was essentially beheaded by a gunshot wound to the neck, according to the results of her autopsy. She also sustained several strikes and knife wounds to her neck, left shoulder, chin, lower cheek, and right foot sole. 7 charges total led to the arrest of Ronny O'Neal III. 2 counts of first-degree murder, 1 count of first-degree attempted murder, 1 count of first-degree arson, a first-degree felony, 2 counts of aggravated child abuse, and 1 count of first-degree misdemeanor resisting an officer without using violence. Despite Judge Michelle Sisko's repeated recommendations that Ronny O'Neal III seek legal representation, O'Neal III represented himself throughout the trial. O'Neal's theatrical rendition was so over the top that the court warned him to maintain a professional demeanor during the trial. Using a remote circuit camera, Ronny O'Neal IV testified against his father in court, detailing the circumstances behind the murders of his mother, sister, and himself. The little kid had to face cross-examination from his assailant as his father, O'Neal IV, was defending himself. O'Neal IV shot Barron in the shoulder while brandishing a shotgun. She dashed inside Ron's bedroom so she could hide in the closet. Dad and little Ronnie went into the bedroom. Barron fled the bedroom as the parents resumed their violent argument. She went outdoors, and O'Neal III caught up with her in the neighbor's driveway. He gave her 1 shot from the shotgun, taking her arm in the process. After striking her many times with the shotgun's barrel, he abandoned her in the neighbor's driveway. O'Neal III went to get a hatchet in the garage. He moved into Ron Nevaeh's sleeping quarters. Ron Nevaeh was pulled to her mother's bedroom by her father, who had seized her from her bed. O'Neal IV saw his father use a hatchet to sever the girl's back, neck, and facial region. He then set a tissue on fire to scorch the girl's corpse. The father then tried to set the little child on fire by grabbing him and holding him to the ground with a foot on his back. O'Neal IV managed to escape his father and entered the kitchen. After that, his father got a kitchen knife and proceeded to stab the little child repeatedly in the neck and belly until his intestines were exposed. The youngster said that he heard loud sounds and saw lights flashing in front of the home. He then claimed to have stepped out the front door and been greeted by emergency services. A number of neighbors who saw what had occurred to Barron outside testified in court as well, to varying degrees. They may talk about O'Neal III's vicious assault on Barron. Emergency professionals who treated every victim provided further testimony. Ronny O'Neal III was given 3 life sentences without the chance of release. Kenyatta Barron and Ron Nevaeh O'Neal were found guilty of 2 counts of capital murder and received 2 life sentences. 1 life sentence was imposed for Ronny O'Neal IV's attempted murder. O'Neal III was further given 30 years for the 2 counts of severe child abuse and 30 years for the first-degree arson offense by Judge Sisko. The court emphasized that a jury's verdict must be unanimous in Florida, which is why he was spared the death penalty. Just 1 juror in the O'Neal III case chose to not support the death punishment.
I am not sorry for something I didn't do, and I am not sorry for the things I did.